Rain or shine, I hope today is going well for everyone. It is I, Spicy Lad / Ch1, and I am here today to cover something that's been alluded to, yet had a long time coming for what it was. The new Deltarune trailer! Here I'll be chiefly examining the trailer itself, which I am of course far from the first to do at this point, since I had my playful with 2 other videos to finish, but I'll also be sharing my more emergent thoughts on the matter, which will include my interpretations of what's shown off, how that may coincide with or dissuade theories and hypotheses I and other fans have had over the years. And yes, this includes stuff from the newsletters and press screenshots and things of that sort, either being covered in the same scenes as they are in the trailer, or after everything else within said trailer. However, before we get to any of that highbrow stuff, I'd like to relay my initial reactions to the trailer as I was watching the Switch 2 Direct with a couple friends live, much to my disbelief. Unfortunately I wasn't recording us, so I'll have to make do with this dramatization if y'all don't mind. Huh? Deltarune? Ah, Deltarune. Yeah, as you could see, I was maybe a little excited for this reveal. I legitimately couldn't tell if I was dreaming or not for a good few minutes. I was thinking that since neither Deltarune itself nor GameMaker as a whole were previously announced for Switch 2 native compatibility, I thought a reveal for Switch 2 in the Direct would be all but impossible, as it wasn't shown in the Switch 1 Direct just the week prior. Needless to say, I am so glad I was wrong! Grant told me to get this trailer in such a major Direct, and for Deltarune to be a launch title for the system, though I don't much appreciate that, meaning that all platforms have to wait for the Switch 2 release to play it. Now how's about we get to the proper analysis of Deltarune. Starting with minor stuff, as it doesn't show off much for the trailer until the halfway point. Oh hey, there's Shadow Guy. We got some gameplay clips, rules card, my husband fun fact, peeks out where he's not supposed to, which is funny, a reminder that Sans is there, definitely no significance there. Our favorite #1 rated salesman 1997 also makes an appearance, which you'll love to see, just a bunch of good dudes in general. But then we see an updated version of the Shadow Guy fight, now with a lot more polish to it than we first saw in the Spit Sweepstakes. In the Nintendo Wire screenshot, we see its area's border and it looks cowboyish, for lack of a better term. I won't say too much on this right now, but friend inside me real? After that, we get something brand new. In the form of this minigame, pink and yellow. What an oddly specific color pairing with a cat motif. Does this have to do with Friend? In the release trailer of all things, my favorite fucked up entity really is going to have a role in this next release. Woo! But the cat motif, that's a lot of cats, including one that looks like the annoying dog down there, and a somewhat trippy background, but again, the cats. I've seen a few people theorize and more or less headcanon Friend as being a cat. I always thought it was more of a symbolic thing, with it being like a Cheshire cat in its behavior and nothing more, with the whole Spam to Kneel element 6 thing being only a manifestation of the puppet half of the element with no regards to the cat half. I didn't think there was any stock in going this far with it, but I guess I was wrong. Damn. No. I refuse to believe that Friend Cat thing was anything else besides a plant from Toby himself directly into the fandom. No way this conclusion came naturally to anyone. Oh, okay. Jokes aside. Looks like Friend really was a cat after all, or at least something like that, which the newsletter also suggests, as Toby mentions the cats in the back, as well as another mention in the Japanese Steam page. So, with all that, combined with the otherwise tenuous yellow and pink lights from that one concept piece, it really does seem like Friend is in some way, shape, or form going to have a major role in Chapter 3, as I've been saying all this time. There is more I could say about this, but as I was writing, I realized it was far too much for the scope of this video. So, to avoid losing focus and bloating this, I'm going to make a video specifically on Friend after this one. Be sure to stay tuned for that. That subscribe button's just below. You can press it. Next, we get a rhythm segment from what looks like Chapter 3, with a fun gang as rock stars in some really good looking outfits and other visuals. All here at Lightners. A lot of my attention lies on Susie first though. To start, just look at her go. She was made for this. As for more important matters, her minigame UI is crossed out. This either means the player did something wrong soon before this clip and that's a penalty, or this is another example of Susie being resistant to control. And the Nintendo Wire screenshot also showing this, it supports the latter, so that's cool. Other than that, there's the rather familiar looking drum set, which we've seen first all the way back in 2022 in the status update. For most of the color scheme, it looked like it was made specifically for Castletown with a black and pale blue, but I didn't have any explanation for the symbols. Turns out they were given Susie's color palette all along. Cools. In a weird way, that kind of hurts a theory I had for a few years about something else, but as we'll see in the screenshots later, it gets confirmed anyway? Cools. As for another detail here, it would appear that Rousey on vocals isn't just for show, as the scene in the screenshot does show lyric subtitles. Does that mean we'll get canon Rousey voice lines? In a whole song, no less? That'd be awesome. After that, we get an action scene with some different lighting, and Susie and Chris are seemingly trying to hastily climb out of a room with stained glass windows. Ooh, Church Darkworld confirmed. Church Darkworld confirmed. And the website and screenshots further support this. We won, Church Truthers. Sorry, Holiday House believers. But yeah, Cupwaka and the stony blue ladder thing were for the church, which I know that is correctly surmised. Always great to have theories confirmed, which the Friend Cap believers are also feeling about now. With that, Chapter 4 truly is shaping up to be a return to basics, as Toby put it, or otherwise more intense than Chapter 3. We'll see more of this later in the trailer, but just from this clip and the Cupwaka gif, this may be a more vertical and vigorous chapter, with the climbing and the shattering and the falling. These little boxes shown on the tiles here probably indicate how and where you can move Chris, but that's not as important here. Really looking forward to the context to all this. Also, Chris's spinning sprite isn't recolored here, and they disappear for a frame upon landing. You're welcome. Wrapping up the action is a bunch of clips from chapters 1 through 4, and a trailer animation all in a row, or as I like to call it, the waiting lineup. It first features King, then Queen, starting a pattern for the main antagonists and/or final boss battles. Then we move over to an equivalent clip for Tenna. It's about time! From the 3D model, high resolution, and static filter, it looks like this is either an intro of sorts or possibly some kind of attack in his boss battle? Regardless, with the wonky design of the TV, the glossy texture, the animation, and it gives off a strong vibe of 90s kids TV channel if you catch my drift. Then it moves to chapter 4, which is definitely rendered in engine, but there's no discernible antagonist character here. It's Chris and Susie running on glass Deltarune tiles, shattering behind them as these things chase after them. It's unknown if this is the same action scene as was presented earlier, but the lighting is identical. If this is following the pattern of the previous 3, then these darkness fuzzies are somehow the main antagonist of chapter 4, or maybe an extension of the antagonist. If things are to be ramping up like this, being in the church, likely knowing about the depths by this point, and getting developments on the angel and stuff like that, and the chapter structure changing a little with each iteration, nobly my Saint Hymn theory rings true here. I guess this makes sense. Nevertheless, it'll make a lot more sense once we get the context, and wherever Rousey is, since he's strangely absent in both clips. But speaking of the angel, that's our final shot in this lineup thing. It's what appears to be the angel unwrapping its wings to stare down the heroes, and sporting the same save point face design as the Titans. This is definitely a lot to take in, and we really aren't equipped to tackle what this all means with everything else we know that is related to the angel, but we've known from the game itself and from Gaster that either the angel itself or its heaven are antagonistic forces, so that still checks out here. I can't say I'm ready to make a video on the angel, but I'm not the only source for that sort of thing, so branch out. As for a couple side notes for this trailer, I'll get to the music first. The track used is an arrangement of the scrapped intro theme for Deltarune, which Toby gave us in the prelude to the anniversary stream, along with a few other tracks. With him saying he has wanted to reuse the scrapped fountain theme, both for itself and for its leitmotif, it looks like he planned on using more than just that fountain song. Hopefully that means we'll get a bunch of scrapped songs in the actual game. Serious Rules fight anyone? For the second side note, this is something that applies to both the recent trailer as well as the old Chapter 2 trailer. I'm sure many of us are well aware of Deltarune's program files, or at least that's what I've been calling them since they don't currently have an official title. In case there's anyone in the audience who needs a refresher, an explanation will be up on screen now. The reason I mention this is because the titles of the trailers show that they themselves are also program assets. To start, the trailer for Chapter 2 is trailer_teaser, and the one for Chapters 1 through 4 is trailer_1-4, both in all caps, which self-explanatory, as you'd expect. Looks like Gaster's canonical reach really does extend outside of the game itself. Not that the title of Toby's company, the early Deltarune site, or the Twitter takeovers already confirmed that, but either way, that's neat. Now, to finally move on from the trailer, we now have the screenshots from elsewhere. Starting with Nintendo Wire on the Deltarune site, we have a new screenshot of Chris and Susie with Sans. He's back outside his store telling Chris that something is wrong. The Japanese version actually does specify what he's talking about though, being his store sign. Next is something newly discovered, a screenshot of the Chapter 4 QC's cutscene from the PlayStation site files. Shows us practically nothing new though. Next, the border of the friend minigame is Castle Towns. We will get to their next video. We also see a brand new screenshot from Chapter 4, which I have many questions about. Who and what is this new NPC? Why is there a cool S Jockington here? Why does he have a beard? Why is it textured and glowing like a dark fountain? What's in this chest? What's Jockington's role in the Church Dark World? A lot of things that won't make sense for several weeks. But hey, we can now say it's several weeks. But we can see that the church spire on either side of the countdown on the Deltarune site is used in the game for the Dark World's border, which is nice. Furthermore, the Jockington grows the beard thing was actually foreshadowed by Toby, all the way back in the anniversary stream.
Jockington grows a beard. Spoiler.
That stream is really doing a lot more heavy lifting than we may have first expected. Now for a big one. Despite what Toby told us back in 2023, the stealth segment is still here. Huzzah! Wow, it looks like shit! The title's stealth zone is unceremoniously slathered on the wall here, with a line sloppily drawn along the length of the room, and it's all mixels galore! I cannot at all be angry about this is just decadent. There's also these symbol things near the ceiling, maybe they're slots or something like that, which vaguely look like pine trees, so if that's true, the original Seeking song with Noah's leitmotif may remain intact here, which I'm all for. Still don't know why or how it's there, but I'll take it. We'll have to see what that's about. Now, wasn't there something important in this screenshot that I haven't mentioned yet? Ah, right, the dark worm thingies from the starting pier area. So those won't be exclusive to that start, so maybe they're all spawned from the carpet, because we're in the house? Like carpet? Okay. Joking aside again. It's thanks to this shot that we now have what appears to be Tenna's full body design. Awesome. Turns out he was a TV head after all. But that funnily means that the intro looking thing is the TV head mascot. Something like that, I think. It seems to be a statue, so the real Tenna would probably be a bit more detailed than this, more so in coloration, but it's great to finally get a better visual on that damn boob tube after all these years. God, I hope Spanton's items react to him or something along those lines. Onward to the only unique screenshot in the Steam store page. It's in Chapter 4, evidently, and it features a battle with these Darkners. The best idea I have for their light world object is they could be Sovereign's orbs, or something like that, but the head's not quite right and the body isn't ringing any bells either. Would have helped if we could see their names, but this is during their attack, so too bad. And now for what we can take from the spring newsletter. The full game will be $25, which only takes the first 4 chapters into account, with chapters 5 and up being free thereon. In that case, the effective price for each chapter goes from being $6.25 to $3.57, and that's assuming we're only getting 7 chapters. Toby also says that the new OST will be available for purchase, which will have 150 songs from across the 4 chapters. That is 81% and 50% larger than chapters 1 and 2's and Undertale's OST respectively, but naturally doesn't include the secret songs from any of those. Toby's putting his entire wussy into this game in every single area he can. And lastly, he mentions the special room we can get into will be exactly the same across all versions, with the one exception being that it'll have Joy-Con 2 mouse controls for the Switch 2. He says in the trailer, so it's probably the friend-looking minigame, which, again, I will get back to in the next video. And after all that, yeah, he was about excited for this trailer as we were. Not at all surprised. That was quite a lot for a trailer with less than a minute of actual game assets. But I think I've said everything I wanted to for this upload. It still doesn't feel real that chapters 1 through 4 are coming so soon, and I don't think playing it is even going to sink in until at least an hour or two. A similar case for me was with chapter 2 and even more so chapter 1. Naturally, this doesn't deter me from playing it in the slightest. I'm as hyped as ever. As another expression for this enthusiasm, please keep an eye out for the friend video. Won't be as long as this, but I assure you, it should be plenty informative. See y'all later.